Aloha mai kako. Hot List Hulahans. I've had this song running in my head all day. Lonely, I'm so lonely. I don't have my Danny for banter with him. That's the scoop, guys. It's just me again today, but Danny and I had a wonderful time. I went and visited him. You know, he lives in Hong Kong, but he is from Minnesota, Cottage Grove to be exact. And I flew out there into Fargo because he and his parents were on their annual trip to the lake. We are at Reno Lake. I got to tell you, Minnesota impressed me. It is beautiful. There is water everywhere, over 10,000 lakes, more if you wanted to add ponds, lots of fishing. We had a wonderful time, and those people are filled with aloha. They just call it Minnesota nice, but I know aloha when I see it. Danny's parents were very, very gracious. Their neighbors were very, very gracious to me as well. I did not know how much Minnesota has contributed to just the culture in general. I mean, can we start out with one of Hawaii's major protein groups, Spam? That's right, guys. Spam is made in Minnesota. Also, if you're a baker, Pillsbury, gold medal flour. If you're a music fan, it was only Bob Dylan and Prince. Thank them for their contributions there. There's just so much more. Danny Rude, another great byproduct of Minnesota. I'm a fan. Now, to be clear, when I was there, it was between 80 and 90 degrees in the daytime. And then it would get nice and cool in the evening. So maybe if I went back in the heart of winter, I might have a little bit of a different mindset. But I'll tell you what, guys, they keep partying through the winter. I was seeing what looked like kind of, like a RV that was slammed, like a low rider. But no, that's not an RV. That's where they ice fish. So they can be very, very comfortable. Anyway, they've got it figured out up there, guys. I had a beautiful, beautiful time. So we're going to jump into the actual hot list here in a little bit. Kind of wanted to bring everybody up to speed. MauiRecovers.com is where you can find all things about the rebuilding of Lahaina, what's going on, what isn't going on. So while I was away, and it's kind of still open, I'm going to go check it out myself. At the Lahaina Cannery Mall, they had an open house where they're showing the different ideas for the rebuilding of Lahaina. Now, my understanding is that they hired some advisors out of Harvard, was my understanding. I could be wrong there, but they had somebody do a bit of a study and provide some options. And now they've gotten rid of those people after hiring them. Not sure what that means. I do know that there was a proposal to make Front Street just walkable, whereas we get rid of the actual street for automobiles. But some of the pushback was, we kind of need some evacuation areas there, and we need more of those, not less. So if you take out a major thoroughfare like Lahaina or Front Street, maybe that's not a good idea. Unfortunately or fortunately, guys, whatever way you look at it, it is still all up for grabs. So we are still in the planning portions of this, which means once they kind of get an idea as to what they're going to do, then they're going to do their government voting thing, and then hopefully eventually they get started here within the next few years. I'm not sure. So that's all going to be coming along, guys. And like I said, you can stay updated here. I was poking around the site, some things that are important to me. This is going to be coming down the pipeline here in 6+ years for estimated completion. Uncle is a bit of a curmudgeon, And so, anyway, I'm older, so they call me uncle over here, gang. That's where that came from. So, we created this bypass, which basically dumps us still kind of in Lahaina, right? I mean, you come down and you're there at the tail end of it, but that's where the Safeway is. So we really didn't bypass Lahaina. So in the next 6+ years, this is what that's going to look like. Sorry, guys. Here it is. So Keawe Street is where the bypass comes down into. And then, once you get to the bottom there, at the highway, you're looking at across the street at Safeway, where they're going to be putting in the new gas station, which is going to be chaotic in its own right. I'll be going there late at night or early in the morning. But this brown line, you can see it's up above the where the new apartments are, workforce housing apartments. Also kind of skirts along where the temporary houses are. It then cruises through, so Pu'uko'oli'i there, guys, that's Ka'anapali. That's how you get into Ka'anapali Hillside, the residential section up above the resorts. And as you can see, this guy kind of skirts above where they broke ground for our West Maui Hospital, which is kind of in pause, limbo. We don't even know how long or if we're going to actually get that. But eventually it comes down to the highway in the Honokawai area, so south of Mahinahina Gulch. The little white line that you can see up there to the north with the turn, I believe that is Kapalua Airport, so it doesn't go that far there. That was my misunderstanding, but it's close by. So we do have that to look forward here, the relievers coming up. One other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention here, I'm going to hopefully make this bigger here. So what we're looking at here, guys, I want you to focus on the green areas. So the green area to the bottom, that was King Kamehameha III Elementary School, probably one of the coolest elementary locations ever. Tough to be a surfing kid there because it was right there at the harbor, right? So I went there very briefly, way back when, before we moved to Molokai. So you can see just north of that larger section, that is the proposed new site. So what are we looking at? Well, that's Dickinson. And when we cross the street there, you can see that red area. So that kind of takes off above there and then loops out to the Kihei side. And you can see we'll be able to access that from Lahaina. So that's important. That's cool there as well. Let's bring you up to speed with the general market here, guys. So I'm focusing on the condo market because that is the market that is the most in chaos, turmoil, trying to make sense of it. We've discussed this at length. It has a lot to do with Bill 9. Also has a lot to do with the fact that maybe some messaging has gotten out there to where people aren't coming to visit, so we don't have as many visitors on island here as well. But let's just go for months supply. So guys, that's 14.2 months of supply. So you can see that we kind of cruised along. They say that 5 months worth of supply is roughly a balanced market. And then if we get more than that, well, then we are in a buyer's market. And when there's less, like you can see during the COVID market, as it started coming down, the supply coming down drastically from 2021 to 2022, that represented the COVID market, where we had a highly competitive market. We're up to 14.2 months supply. Now, guys, there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons is, and Danny and I are running into this, is, we've talked about behavior, where when there's a lot of condos on the market, 14.2 months worth of supply, but that market is predominantly people that are hoping to get a certain price. And we get this comment from a lot of listing agents when we'll put in some offers that, are nowhere close to their list price. Hey, my seller doesn't need to sell. It's always an interesting comment, especially in a market like right now, where, if you're listing right now, you're just going to be part of the mass, right? So we have a lot of that. We have people that are pricing aspirationally, and they're just basically saying, hey, If I got my amount, I'll sell it. I'm comfortable with all that's happening right now. I have the money potentially to float on this, but I don't like burning through my cash. So that's where part of the motivation is for these people that are pricing aspirationally, and just kind of a huge group of those people up there where, yep, I'm not going to really lower my price. If I can get it, great. And then you have the behavior that Danny and I look for, which is somebody that's coming in. They are pricing drastically below everybody else. And then more importantly, as time goes by, they are drastically reducing the price, or at least reducing it to show that they are motivated. So that's what you have to look for right now, if indeed a deal is to be had, is that type of behavior. So anyway, 14.2 months supply, guys. We are definitely in a buyer's market for condos. Now, buyer's markets, the downside to them, guys, is that they can be self-fulfilling prophecies and a negative feedback loop. And what I mean by that is, as buyers just sit back and go, well, I'm going to still wait and see if prices go lower. Because there is no buyer activity, prices can go lower. So let's see what's happening with the sales price. So very interesting, right? We go months of supply and we see the market basically bottom there, 2022 through 2023. And then we start seeing supply increase 2024 drastically now in 2025, right? Now, when we look at sales price though, so when we're looking at median sales price, the sales price kept escalating, basically well into this year here. And now we are starting to see that correct lower. Now, I had a friend of mine ask me, well, John, how much do prices have to fall? Well, there's an argument out there that typically we have to revert to the mean. And when we look at the mean, well, we're looking back to 2015 through 2017 potentially. That would be a complete and total revert to the mean. Will we get there? I'm not sure. I don't know. All I can tell you guys is that bottoms in markets are things that we see in our rear view mirror. That's the only way that you know that we've seen a bottom, is typically we go past it and then we look backwards and we say, oh yeah, a few months ago we actually hit the bottom, because now we're starting to see it kind of go up a little bit. So that was just a quick update there on the condo market. Guys, Danny and I have discussed this. We've talked about it before. It's interesting. So, typically in the past, people that are not going to live here on Maui full time, they always would prefer to have an oceanfront condo that they could vacation rent when they're not going to be here. And that's because our feeder markets tend to be along the west coast of the United States. So people can come over here relatively quickly, right? They're not going to fully commit to Maui. They're going to keep the place back there in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, etc. And they're just going to want to come out maybe in the winter months when it's a little more inclement, just kind of hang out. But most of those people ultimately have a goal sometimes where they want to be in a house. And so basically right now, condos aren't penciling. So for that reason, some people are just saying, well, if I'm going to spend the money, it's just going to sit there. Well, maybe I should buy a house. So, I'm watching kind of the residential market still seems healthy, still seems to be incrementally drifting upwards. And I feel that it's because, like I mentioned, people, ultimately a lot of them would prefer that, the room, the space, livability. And because the vacation rental condos are not penciling and there's a lot of chaos out there and a lot of uncertainty and risk, they're just going out and buying the houses is what I'm seeing. So that's a quick little update there on the condo market. Let's do the Hulahan here, gangy. I'm going to bring this up here. Let's see. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So, Pu'uonehale Ali'i. This is over in Wailuku. So, Central Maui. $310,000 for a one-bedroom, one-bath. They've been trying to sell this for 182 days. They started the list price at $320,000. So that was listed back in April, and they've done one incremental price reduction to $310,000. Trying to get some kind of activity with it, kind of putting it back in our face, if you would. So $310,000. You pay $705 for the maintenance fees. That's the scoop there, guys. I do think that there is a strong argument that, if you're looking to invest in Maui, and let's say that you have a longer time horizon, you want a vacation or you want to retire here with Maui, and maybe, your time horizon is 8 to 12 years out. maybe potentially you should look at something long term you can invest in, have it pay off itself for quite a bit, or just generate some income that way, pay it off, gain the equity that way from just paying down the mortgage. And maybe you're just doing that because you paid cash for it, and now the renter's taking care of that for you, paying all the fees, and you get a little bit of cash. But that may be the strategy, is to go long-term rental, and that's because of the long-term rental exemption, which would reduce your taxes quite a bit. Because right now, guys, even at 75% occupancy, it's really tough to make these TVR condo numbers work, especially if you need professional property management. I mean, there's just no room there's no meat on the bone. And a significant amount of that is because you're paying high taxes. So maybe that should be a switch in behavior. Maybe the investment should be long-term, especially those of you that say, hey, I want to help out the community. Maybe you do that. You put a local family in there. You keep it comfortable for them, and you do that long-term so they stay there through the duration. And you can help somebody that way. And you can still have a investment that maybe as the market starts to recover, and we can 1031 exchange you into what you actually want, something oceanfront, maybe second home, etc. Kapalua Golf Villas. We're big fans. Boy, that golf course is looking dry, guys. The drought is real here up at the Kapalua golf courses. 2-bedroom, 2-bath here, started at $1,725,000. That's a great building there, 25. You can get amazing views. Maintenance fees aren't horrible, $1,376 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath there. Drop the price to $1,585,000. Kapalua Golf Villas, all of the condos throughout Kapalua except for the Montage and the Ritz-Carlton, guys. That's the only hotel zone. Every other condo, Kapalua Golf Villas, the Ridge, Kapalua Bay Villas, all technically apartment zoned. Wailea e Kolu. So, was it Ekolu that's hotel zoned? It was one of them. So let's see here. Not saying it there. I can't remember, guys. I don't got Danny on here. He's our South Shore specialist. But boy, that's a nice trophy unit there. And boy, when we compare the one that we just looked at there at Kapalua, well, this would be kind of the Wailea equivalent for that, if you would. Wailea probably getting a little more visitor action because they've always had wild fans, and the fact that, the fire hasn't affected them down there. Again, similar situation. Started out aspirationally $1,749,000, now down to $1,525,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with that amazing view. $1,248 pays for the maintenance fees. That is the scoop there. Wavecrest on Maui, also on Molokai, also apartment zone. So having some effect. Started out $225, 123 days ago, drifting down now to $195. C building's the one that sits in the back, so not the best view there. Not really seeing that much of a deal for that particular one. I know of other ones in better buildings that are a little bit less in price. These Alhana Kuleanas have really hit the market. They are condos. They live large. They have a garage, like you can see there. So an alternative to a home. People are bringing out remodeled versions, for $1 million plus. This one here, so started out at $995. They probably felt like they were being a little more aggressive with their pricing against those ones that were $1 million, but now down to $895. So Alhana is strictly residential, so second home, long-term rental, resident, long-term residence. Primary residence, I should say. And you pay $1,020 for the maintenance fees, and you got yourself a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. So that is an alternative to a standalone home. Paradise Ridge Estates, that's actually a great price there, guys. I mean, I'm used to seeing these 1.4, 1.6. That's $1.2 million. Down from $1.2 million to $1.149. This is new build. They're closing out this community here. 2023 is when they were completed in terms of construction. You pay $1,269.53 for your AOAO dues. Always has been residential. So that's the scoop. It is gated. This one looks like it's one of the first ones. That is the gate right there. So some people may not feel that's the best location for it. I don't know. Maybe you get a nice view from it. It's boasting an ocean view. So this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath version as well. So again, an alternative to an actual house, but strictly residential as mentioned. Luana Kai. So came out at $925. I get that that's a real, much lower than they've have sold in the past. But Luana Kai is apartment zoned. So that's what the uncertainty is there. $833 for maintenance fees, not horrible at all in this day and age. Now, Napili Villas, guys, boy, we got our buyer or our seller out of there at the right time. We had sold a 2-bedroom, 2-bath that was highly upgraded for more than this. So they started out at $784,500, now down to $774,500. This is one of the desired bottom locations. Why is it desired? Because you do get a bit of a yard, and then you also get a in the front and the back. So that's the scoop there. Maintenance fees $939, strictly residential, right by Napili Plaza. Ooh, Pailolo Place, man. Kind of surprised that this guy's still around because these tend to move quickly. Pailolo Place sits basically across the street from Napili Bay. It sits kind of below Kapalua Golf Villas. It was built as workforce housing. Starts out at workforce housing, much like any residential development here on Maui, and then as they can revert to selling to just any old person, if you would. These were bringing the 700s for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. This one down to $649. It's a special little place. I have a lot of friends that live there. My friend Duma takes beautiful, beautiful sunset photos. Like I said, literally just come down the driveway here, and you are basically looking at the Napili Kai. So that makes for a nice residential, long-term rental, second home, primary resident. That's what's going on there. Cottages at Kulamalu. So one of the options for condos upcountry. There's not a lot of them. This one's a great one. These guys are trying to move this. That's a great price for it. $899, 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath. Looks like you've got nobody behind you there. Does have a nice garage. You can see that they live detached. Great square footage, 1,677 square feet, $899. This one, you can find a home or two in this price range at Pukalani, single family residence, but it would be at the lowest end of the price range. So this would be maybe a little bit of an upgrade, a nicer option, built 2008, so fairly new construction for Maui. You do have to pay maintenance fees, so $821. You can see that you can get a homestead exemption here if it's your primary residence. That'll keep your taxes low. I would imagine you're going to pay about $1,500 a year for taxes if it is your primary residence with the homestead exemption. Maui Kamaole. So these are starting to drift lower as well, and that is because Maui Kamaole is apartment zone. So Keawakapu, it's right there close to that beach there. This is a well-loved community. It really is. They live large, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,214 square feet. Maintenance fees, $1,356, about what we can expect. Still can be vacation rented, but it is in risk of going away. So looks like this one was nicely updated in 2022. So this is a person that's feeling a little bit skittish about the market and the potential loss of vacation rentability. So that's what's going on here, guys. Starting out, I would say that this is a perceived market price, listing price strategy here. $1.2 million, we'll keep an eye on it. Guys, keep in mind in this market, list prices tend to be suggestions. Is there room? Yeah, especially if you've got cash. Ka'ikena Loop. So tapped out on this guy here. That is the backyard that we're looking at. Beautiful views. Looks like it was a bit of a windy day there, but you can see a little ocean view off in the distance. That's Haleakala as well. Started out at $1,490,000 240 days ago. They dropped it by just about about 90,000 or so, and now they've tapped out. They said, no, I'm not going lower than that. So this one here, finally bringing a buyer, $344 after 215 days on the market. This is Unit C. This is 0.3 acres. I believe so, unless they didn't get the CPR total wrong. Anyway, it's pending now. You could build the ADU here. So Unit C, it allows you to build one 840 square foot ADU. You would be on a shared water meter. That's the scoop there. And a lot of different fruit trees right around. Somebody picked that up there. Maybe I'm going to slap a tiny home on it. Not sure. Waipuilani. So Waipuilani was always a little bit of an outlier in the short-term vacation rental world. Their bylaws stipulated, that's my understanding, 30-day rentals or more. So you could not do, just 3 days, 4 days like your typical TVR. Looks like a nice Murphy bed in the living room there. So that provides for a third bedroom, if you would. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. $849 was the start price. Came down to $780. Got themselves an offer. It's direct ocean front. Something funky about Waipuilani is a lot of them just don't have the lanai. I don't know if they closed them in, the louvers there, but you got no lanai, got all those jealousies there. So harken back to the old Hawaii style of just providing great trade wind flow instead of air conditioning. This one sold here, guys, in Lanai. Lanai prices are correcting as well. I mean, Lanai brings more money than Molokai, and the whole reason for that is you got Larry Ellison, a billionaire, owns a couple of Four Seasons, and he develops there, and he brings his friends out. So caused the prices to pop even in Lanai City because people, they want to spend longer, and they don't want to spend, Four Seasons prices after a while, so they just buy a place. Villas at Kenaleo. So obviously this was a great pricing strategy. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This looks like the version that also came with a loft that you could also use. I can already see ductless air conditioning units there, so that's why 78 days in, they negotiated themselves an offer there. Did they get $775? I don't imagine not. Everything's up for negotiation. We'll have to wait till it closes. We don't get to know what the price that somebody captures it in until it closes. And the reason for that is simple. Things fall out escrow all the time. Listing agent and the seller wants you to have no idea as to what they accepted in the past. Valley Isle Resort, priced right, 1-bedroom, 1-bath, $525. A lot of fees, $2,177. We've talked about Valley Real Resort, part of the Kahana Bay Restoration Project. So you got a lot of big sandbags there on this beach here, trying to hold the beach together. Active litigation, making financing difficult. So prices have drifted. $525, hotel zone, 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I'll take it. This is what this guy said here. We are looking at Molokai. Somebody picked up 6.5 acres somewhere around this list price for $425. This is definitely east end of Molokai in the Wailua area. My old home. Harbor Lights, guys, still moving. Tough to get financing there. We know who. We can get it done. Started out at $320, aspirationally. $175 is what it took at the list price, reduced list price to get it to move. We'll see what that closes at a little bit later on. Guys, we appreciate those of you that continue to show up and wait for these shows to come on. Apologize for a bit of just not showing up. Danny and I have been traveling. Danny's been taking off some time. He went to Columbia, circled back up to see friends in Chicago. His parents just went and saw him there in Minnesota. He's going to be available for a few days, but he actually is going on a great mission trip to Nepal. So you may just be stuck with Lonely John here for a little bit more. But guys, we are definitely appreciative for you listening in here, being interested in the Maui market, and quite frankly, just your trust to listen to us as to what we bring to the table and our comments about it. One thing before we leave, I want to make mention of. This is new news. Lahaina Shores, going to be one of 2 hotel zoned options in Lahaina, but the only one that's available right now because Ainanalu has to be rebuilt. And I have friends that own an Ainanalu, and I understand that it is one heck of a special assessment to rebuild. My understanding, north of $700,000 per 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit is what the special assessment is going to be for them to rebuild. In the meantime, Lahaina Shores is it. You remember us talking about how Lahaina Shores had issues with vacation rentability because they had 60 parking lots or parking spots next door underground at the 505, and they no longer had access to those. They've overcome this issue quite simply. Their quick fix, you have to pay $25 per night to park, whether you're an owner, whether you're a guest. Not sure if owners are going to pass that along to their guests or just pack it into the nightly price. But what am I sharing with you? You can vacation rent at Lahaina Shores, just you're going to have to pay for it, 25 bucks a day. So what does that mean? Well, if you're going to spend a week there, you're going to spend about 175 bucks for the parking. Danny and I have a mountain view coming to the market here shortly on the 6th floor. 6th floor affords some higher ceilings. We're going to have a really nicely updated studio that's going to be coming on the market shortly. But these are the current options. That one for $375, I've been in it. It's on the 2nd floor. So you basically have a view of Shaw Street. When you get a little bit higher, you get better views of the West Maui Mountains is what you afford on the even numbered units there. Odd number units face the ocean. Look at this outlier here at the bottom, John Y850. Well, that's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. The interesting thing is it's a mountain view, and the highest priced mountain view brought $728. Now that was back in 2001. So this agent is basically pricing based off of, well, there had to be some equity growth there from 2001. I feel that that's an aspirational price there, but it is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath that is available. So maybe you just let this guy kind of hang out and let the market teach the seller. Are you really motivated to move this or not? Are you going to show us that behavior? Outside of that, guys, I mean, there are some great options for mountain views right now. This one, 308, going to have a little bit of a better view because it's a little bit higher. 332, no, still going to be a view of the mountains there because it is a even numbered unit, but that is the beautiful pool, and you got breakwall surf spot in front. Here we go. 660 brings you a ocean view studio. 689, a higher top floor, 617. 689 there, been on the market for 4 days. So that's the scoop, guys. You can buy Lahaina Shores, you can vacation rent it. Let us know if you want to get involved. Let us know if you're curious about the one that's coming to the market. That's the Hulahan.